with you here in a moment. Not that you want to read that whole list. But if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, how can you know whether you ever get there or not? So we have objectives. How did we obtain those? Well, we looked at what are the qualities. What are the qualities that we want to find in our leaders? And humility is one of them. So for the last 10 years, we've done a pre-test and a post-test. We want to know how well we've accomplished it. I don't know of a perfect way of doing that. The only way I know how to do that is to ask questions about a self-assessment. I'll quickly share those with you, and I printed some out, and I'll be glad to email out the other ones. And I do have them on a flashcard here. We had 20 questions 10 years ago. We had 20 questions, and then we tried to do a pre-test, and then we did a post-test. One of the reasons why I like the pre-test is it's like an educator. When you walk into the class these days, not when I started teaching, but nowadays, they have the agenda. This is what we're going to learn today. And so essentially the pre-test is telling them, this is what this conference is all about. These are the things that we evaluate leadership by. So they evaluate themselves. And of course, I'm pretty much an 8 or a 9 out of 10 in each one of these categories. So it's difficult to really get that at the end. But we've taken a comparison, pre-test, or pre-assessment, post-assessment to what they've done. Again, I don't know of any other way to do that. Well, this last year, we decided, okay, this is after the fact, right? So we're in the debrief of our conference. We said, gee, you know, we've been talking about this all along. How do we know that we've really had any effect on these kids? Well, you can go back to, and Bill can tell you about some of these kids that come back. We asked them to go back to their clubs and share what they got out of it. And there was just a phenomenal story that came out last year. This gal wrote about what she got out of Ryland, and it was amazing. So we have all these little anecdotes, but then again, and it isn't perfect. We decided, okay, we're going to do a survey. We're going to ask the parents, what do you see different in your son or daughter afterwards?
How many months after do you send that?
Excuse me?
How many months after the camp?
We decided to do that in December. And our conference is in late July, early August.
So like 6 months apart.
How many responses did we get back? 0. Maybe we got 2. I haven't heard.
I don't know.
Heather may have come back. Heather may have come back. So we really blew it. But we'll, I think, change that. Now, when the parents come pick them up, we have, at least we have the ability at Young Island to talk to the parents before the kids come back. The kids are all off in the woods, and they come back in after the parents have sat down, because we do a slideshow, and we allow them, because we have a small enough conference, there's only 120 kids, that we could have the parents sit there and watch this slideshow. It's a great, great PR thing. I mean, the parents just are, they're ready to open their billfolds and hand you some more money. But one of the things that we can obviously do to change what we've done this last year is say to the parents, listen, in December, we're going to send out a survey that we would like to know how things are different. And again, it allows the parents, it's like that agenda at the beginning of the class. If they know it's coming and they know kind of what they're looking for, then they can respond much better. So that's our intention, I think, next year. And that's how we've said it. But we've sat down, and it took us a while to really come up with good questions. The first time it was really good for us. The 20 questions were really great. And we understood them really well, but we had to think back. I'm not sure the kids really get it. what we're asking. So we reworded it, and we came down to, do we end up with 10? Not sure, 10 to 12, 10 or 12. And that's what we've done. What else, before I show you some of these things, what have you done to debrief that is different, or a process different than what we've talked about?
One thing we do up in Greeley is about 2 or 3 weeks after the conference, we have the kids come to our Rotary meeting.
Right.
And we strongly encourage them to bring their parents. So they're all up there in front of the whole club. And then we have each one of them kind of approach the microphone and just tell a short, brief experience of RILA, how it impacted them, what they got out of it. The stories are absolutely amazing, but what's even more amazing is after the Rotary meeting, all the parents are coming up and telling us, I can't believe the difference in my daughter, my son. I mean, it's like just on and on and on. One thing I hear almost consistently, for years and years, I hear this phrase, and I don't know if they teach them this up at Riley Camp or not, but it was a life-changing experience.
Yeah, we don't teach that.
They
all say it.
I hear it year after year after year, and I'm thinking, well, they either have these kids brainwashed up there, or it really was a life-changing experience, and the parents back that up. So, we don't send out a questionnaire 6 months later, but I like hearing eyeball to eyeball
I agree with you.
feedback from the parents.
I would not change asking those kids to go back to their Rotary clubs. I would not change that.
With parents.
Yes.
Something that we do for debriefing, we do the, normal, like in your small groups, after activities type thing, and then we also do the stop during, like ropes course type of activities. But we also implemented a journaling time, so we have these pre-printed blank sheets with a prompt. How did I show up today? ... What am I going to do differently? ... How am I showing up as a leader? And so we have these prompts that coincide with different activities. So we'll do like a free write time, and it's scheduled in there like 10 to 15 minutes, and it's really good also because with the introvert and extrovert and balancing those kids, a lot of sometimes people need to be alone, and to be able to go inside and write it down. And we've just heard tons of positive feedback because as they go back into their schools and are faced with the same problems, that they came with, they're able to go back and read that and what the things that they wrote to themselves during the camp.
I can't emphasize enough about how important that is.
Yes.
Yeah, we do that. I forgot to mention that. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's fabulous. Yeah.
As a follow-up to where the kids go back to the clubs and tell their story, we try to tell them not to say it was the best week of my life. That's something more in-depth than that. But do you guys also encourage your clubs to have the parents attend, but also have the parents say something to your Rotary club after their kids do?
That's
And
right.
We give them the opportunity.
give the opportunity for a parent to say something as well after the kids are all done speaking to the club. And there's another motive behind this. If the parents talk up there and kind of wax prophetically about it, how wonderful things were, that's really good for your club members to hear that, because they're the ones paying the bills.
Right.
And they're much more likely to re-up going forward, or say, let's get more kids, because like we got to double up next year. And so, but having the parent, that was a really fascinating dynamic to hear the parents tell their story, what their kid experienced, what they experienced even on the drive home from the conference there. But particularly because it's going to be really good for the clubs to hear that from parents. And it's the stories we like to hear as well. In fact, upstairs right now, we're down. Upstairs, these meetings of these PEs are up there. I can name 3 that are up there right now that had a son or daughter go to RILA. They were not members of Rotary before. That parent is a Rotary.
That's
That Rotary, they are in Rotary now, and now they're a PE on top of that. So,
Junior and I were not Rotarians when we started this whole thing. We were just consultants.
I don't know if you call it a debriefing activity, but I did this with the kids at my high school. I had them bring a sealed letter from their parents. And the first night we were there, they all read the letters.
Ah,
And
yeah.
then they shared, not the content of the letter, but their response to the letter. And then their last night, we had them write a letter to their parents. And they were transformed. Their parents were like, who is this child you sent back to me? So it's a very powerful connection between the kid and his parent. That was.
That's what, I've heard people, other organizations that have done that, has asked somebody in their life to write a letter to them while they're at camp. That's a
So
great.
they bring the letter with them from their families. Another processing thing that I do with kids is that lots of times kids don't have a clear perception of themselves that's accurate. They might over-exaggerate their abilities or under-exaggerate. So I like to kind of check in with the group. So raise your hand if you think Julie was afraid. And they'll say, well, no, she was awesome, she was brave. So some kind of group feedback to those kids who have a misperception about how they're showing up.
One of the things that I totally agree with, one of the most powerful parts of that, of a processing is someplace, is acknowledging people. You'd go around and say, hey, Junior, you're really warm-hearted, and so forth. And then another way to go back and do that is to go around the circle and say, Junior, I know that you're a great leader. I'd like to hear more from you. In other words, somebody comes back and says something about what they would like to see more out of that person during the week.
Can I ask a question back to the letter? Is it put into the materials up front for the parents?
Yeah, it's
And-
one of the things that it's, on that list of things to
Does
bring from camp.
what percentage of parents do it?
100%.
Really?
Ask the parents to write. Yeah, just, that's what they need to bring, a sealed letter of appreciation from your parents. You give that to your parents. Oh, yes, you want to be clear, your job
It's
is to appreciate
positive,
your
not
child.
negative. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, these teenagers, they don't often get a lot of that.
Everybody's starting on, you'll figure this out.
Yeah, that's just part of the camp supplies.
So it is required
Yep,
that parent or guardian,
yeah.
somebody that's important in their lives.
And then do you mail the letter that the students write to the
No,
parents?
they
or
just
you-
take it home
they
and give
don't?
it to them. Then there's lots of
We
crying.
also ask them to write a letter to themselves
Yeah, that's
Right.
great.
and mail it out. Oh, and the other thing that we do on the final post-assessment is we give them some open-ended questions about what were the activities that you learned the most from, and we call it take a look around when we have them share their experiences. You have them all stand up. We have 120, so we start out, and if you're male, go up to the stage. If you're female, go up to the stage, and so forth. It is a very powerful, powerful experience. We do it, we spend a lot of time with that particular activity, making sure that it was done properly, because it wasn't always done properly. We do not let them share stories. We ask 3 questions. They can answer those 3 questions, and that's it. And we model it at the very beginning so that they essentially respond to how you can support me or whatever by 1 sentence. Not a whole story about, hey, I was in this, this happened to me or whatever. I don't see it, the device didn't, there it is.
I just wanted to share something real quick about.
Yeah, go for it.
I got all these colored cards, I got them in colored, bright colored cards. And it's really the reason I started doing it was, right before RILA last year, they asked me to do like something at district conference and they wanted me to display, and I'm thinking, what the heck am I gonna do? So I got all these colored cards, and I had the kids on that last day when they were doing that letter. I said, I want you to write down, at RILA I learned, or what RILA means to me, or RILA is, and in their own handwriting, and sign their name, and then the chapter that sponsor them. Some of them didn't know what chapter, and I said, that's okay, I can add that in there. But then I lined the hallway at district conference with all these colored cards on this board right here. I cannot believe how many Rotarians came up and said, I had no idea, they were looking for their kid's name, someone that had, or kids from their district, they had no idea, so. Anyway.
On that same thing, we've done for years thank you notes. And on their very final team roundup, when the teams do their just debrief, we give them thank you notes that they write to the Rotarians. And their counselors all have their list and who they're sponsored by. And then at the end, I mail them out to the clubs. This is a little thank you. It's that same.
Yeah,
What
but they
Riley
colored
sent
cards,
to
it
me.
was just bright and colorful, it was like,
I
oh,
love
wow. Maybe you can use them in your video and promotional materials, but.
I can, it won't come up. But I will, I've got some hard copies for some of them.
Are there more copies of this?
I can get some more copies, and I can email them. If you take a look at it, I'll make sure that you get a copy of that.
These gentlemen with the cake.
Why don't you read it?
For the club. I can't believe what a change this child has made. Thank you. Thank you. And we didn't invite her necessarily. We invited the child to come up. She was determined to come.
No, that's what
We definitely want to.
we made sure. By the way,
What's that one you have? Does it start off, how do the experiences of Riley get translated?
when we put together our assessment, it was kind of backwards. You really should have your assessment before you make out your program. That's the way things should move. But we already had a program we didn't particularly want to change. So we took what we did and made sure that every activity we did had something to do with those objectives. We then made a table, actually, I'm trying to make that table, but FJC made a flow chart on it, really cool flow chart. You can't see it on a computer because it's so big. But we made sure that every one of the objectives had activities that hit into it. And at the end, it's hitting more of those objectives as it goes. So I really encourage you to do some sort of pre-assessment, post-assessment, in order to find out changes you may want to make, or are you really being successful?
I have a question just in general. Has there ever been a RILA summit like this before?
Hey, and I really,
Yeah, they're back, they have some back east,
some way back.
Okay.
I was one in Texas.
California.
Out here, I'd never heard of one until this one. But one thing, I'm hoping that everyone's gonna have their name and email address somewhere,
I think it's
so that we can kind of share stuff.
And then you're gonna have the Dropbox.
Wasn't that list going around? It was going around. Is that list still going around?
We never saw it again.
Oh, I thought, I was just to check it.
Yeah, check it.
I put it in my
Keep passing it on.
I'll check it. So much for the truth.
Share it all.
You keep bringing with this
The list is over there.
It's just keep checking it when it comes to make sure our information is correct.
Couple things before I sit down, I'll call them. One is, my printer was run out of ink, so I couldn't get enough of those printed out. But all you have to do is let me know that you would like a copy of that. I will email you a copy of that. I'll email you anything you want. As a matter of fact, we have our manuals for RILA and young RILA that we'd be more than glad to, electronically, and share with you. You can have the whole thing if you wanted. But I would really like to thank Eric for putting this thing together.
Could you send all of those documents to Eric and then he can easily get them out to us?
Sure.
That was really great.
I'll do that too.
Great, wonderful.